I'm calling the powers from the east and the west and the south and the north. I call forward the positive force of healing for all of our sisterhood
East
and
and
our
the north and the
brotherhood
west and the
and our
south.
human tribe, because our 2020 vision is crystal clear.
That's what we do.
Here.
So science is real and protect our climate.
Yeah.
I like the background on there. It's got the aurora. That is cool. So you want to bring attention to like climate change and things like that, or?
I really do. I think it's the most important thing. As much as we have a bunch of problems, if we don't fix climate, we're going to lose our planet in 12 years, right?
12 years.
It's going to start to overcome with CO2. At that point, with water creating floods in cities, we're already seeing signs of it.
Yeah.
And with right now, our EPA is backing up the truck instead of going forward in terms of protecting us.
So you want to your message is to the EPA. You want the government to take more action to reverse climate change?
Well, yeah, they've been backing off of taking action. They've been cutting into our national parks. They're trying to get rid of the auto industry moving forward to get us out of gas engines and oil. So yeah, that's exactly what I want.
I agree. I think the climate is a big issue, but my thing is, I'm curious, and maybe you can help me understand. I want to know why we don't bring more attention to China and India, because they pollute magnitudes more than we do, but we never really talk about them. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's part of it, but we have to be the lead, don't you? We're
Well, we kind of are.
the greatest nation, I think, in the world, and we have the greatest scientists to help us figure out this problem and how to solve it, maybe in 12 years, and then we can lead them. And I think they will follow, because I think they respect the United States. I think they respect our science.
I think in terms of regulations and whatnot, we already are very far ahead of them, right? There's a lot of things they could do on their end based on our model.
When you have 12 years, when is enough?
What? So,
We say, okay, not only that, we're going to move backwards and not do things that are necessary in order to protect our climate.
I think that's a good path that you're thinking of, but if we have a 12-year time frame, kind of setting up a leadership example isn't really
Exactly.
it's not an urgent enough model.
We need this administration who doesn't believe in climate change out, and to put one in that can aggressively address it, not just by policy, but by action. But don't take us back. Don't make California have to go back to gas engines because we want to open up the oil industry and give them a free ride on our parks and our oceans, coast, and our national lands. Why are we doing that? Why are we allowing that?
What kind of actions would you want a new administration to take? Like, if we only have 12 years, they got to act fast. So what?
I think they need to get the scientists back in gear and get some suggestions and start working on it. We do have them out there. We have wind power. We do have electric cars. I bought one. And I think that those things will move us forward. Solar energy, I think they're there. We're not encouraging them because there's this belief that climate change is a Chinese hoax, which of course it is not. Trust our scientists. They're bright. They're capable. And I think they'll help us. And we go back into the Paris Accord and lead other nations by being a leader instead of getting out of it.
So, do you think we have to be in an accord for them to really see us as a model to work better? I mean, China and India are so far ahead of us.
Makes us better.
Well, if you look at, there's economic arguments to be made that joining that would have only hurt us economically, and it wouldn't have actually made China or India improve their conditions at all.
I don't agree. I think that the Paris Accord shows our dedication to it, that we are managing to garner our resources, and I think some of that will create pressure. And I think India wants to move on and do the right thing. I don't know about China as much, but I think they would respect what we would suggest and lead with. If there's any economic issues, I think they can be addressed. Some people are afraid that if we get rid of the gas and oil, that we don't have other jobs. We will. We'll have jobs in the energy efficient area. Anyway.
I don't know. It sounds like if we have 12 years, we gotta turn off the electricity now,
We should have been doing it a while ago. And the fact is we're going backwards with this administration.
Well, thank you for your time.
You bet.
All right. We have 12 years, And the suggestion is that we need to set up a leadership model so that other countries can follow what we do. If it was up to me, if you had 12 years, I would make everybody turn their electricity off right now. No more gas, no nothing. So all factory farms shut down, everything, shut it all down. We really only had 12 years left, you know? Yeah. What's that?
Who are you with?
Oh, we're just independent journalists.
Okay, I don't want to be published.
Okay. Thanks for your time. We have 12 years left to survive, and here's my message, but don't tell anybody. So we're just out here talking to the marchers and seeing what brings you out, you know, what your message is, and
Supporting the women.
is this your wife, girlfriend?
Yes, it is.
Nice. And what kind of issues brought you out? You know, what as far as women go, what do you think are some of the big issues that they're facing today?
I think the female is the future.
Future is female?
Yeah.
You got it backwards. I'd help you out there.
Thank you.
What does that mean exactly?
They will improve our lives.
How so?
With their ideas and their power.
So like getting them into government and stuff like that, or what? Sorry, I just like to be specific.
Yeah, if they're in power, they can make this place a better world.
All right. Anything else? Maybe do you want to say anything? You got a pretty good sign there too. History has its eyes on you.
We love Hamilton, you know, and we think that your actions have consequences, and
I agree.
what we leave is what we're leaving for, you know, the next generation. So we want to be able to have our voices be heard.
Can we see the other side of your sign? There's a lot more on there too.
Yeah.
So, I like that quote. That's from Dylan Thomas. Yeah. So, are you guys politically active? Are you going to vote in 2020? Or
We vote every year.
who do you think is going to be the best candidate for, you know, women's issues?
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie?
To me, because
Feel the burn, you know it.
most of where he stands is where we stand.
Okay. Anything specific on his issues or his viewpoints that you want to point out that might help the most?
Well, if you look at his record, he's always been for the health industry, you know, to reform the medical industry and for
It is a big problem.
yeah. So that's what we're for, and then human rights and equality for women.
Okay. What do you think about what he said or supposedly said about Senator Warren, that women can't be president?
I think it's very difficult for a woman to be, she should be president, but I think sexism is still a big issue, and I think we don't trust women who want power, and so I think that's what we're doing here, showing that women should be trusted and that we have value and that you shouldn't distrust women just because they want to be powerful like men.
Gotcha. So outside of, you know, marching and protesting, how do you think women can get up to that level to where they are kind of trusted and respected? What can they do?
I think we start with our kids, and we
I like that.
tell girls, instead of them being bossy or instead of their being pushy, little boys are seen as being, you know, like they're shown as being, instead of being aggressive, you know, they're like the leader. They're seen as leadership, you know. So we need to shift how we treat our little girls and little boys, and get away from gender roles and
No more gender roles. Kind of have like a blank slate.
right, and then have more opportunities for women to be in leadership roles. Make it easier for women to be in engineering and to make easier paths.
You think a lot of women really want to do engineering though? Like, you know, if they had a choice.
I don't think we're really given a choice. Like when I was in high school, it didn't really seem like I should be into math or I should be into engineering or science.
Really?
Yeah. So I think if we give more opportunities, I think they will.
Well, one of the things, you know, I just graduated myself about 3 years ago from college. One of the things that I noticed a lot was like women's only scholarships for stuff like that. There's no men's only scholarships for stuff like that. And there's a lot of incentives for women to get into those engineering
But I
programs.
think we're starting too late. Like if
Oh.
you're just starting in college, they weren't interested when they were younger. You have to get them interested when they're young.
So give little girls like Legos and stuff.
Sure.
That's what I had.
Give them Legos.
Stuff that
I
makes
didn't
them.
really play with Legos.
Well, are you an engineer?
No.
That's probably why.
Right.
Felt like I shouldn't be
Yeah, of course you don't feel like you should be there. Like, I don't feel like I should be in a makeup class. There's nobody telling me I can't be there, but I'm not gonna feel like I belong in a makeup class or a cosmetology class because that's not what inherently I'm interested in. Guys are inherently interested in engineering, mathematics, because we have more logical brains. You know, we're more interested in things and less interested in people. I didn't bring up because I didn't want to take up more of their time, but you know, one of my go-to lines for that kind of stuff is in Scandinavian countries, for example, where they have done the most to kind of institutionalize equality and egalitarianism, you see women making more choices towards things like nursing and less towards things like engineering. So even when you have the opportunity, I would consider that having them an equal opportunity. They still don't choose to be engineers. They don't choose to be mathematicians because that's not what women are inherently interested in. And of course, you know, that's generalizing. There are always going to be women engineers who are really good and stuff. So your signs. I saw you were carrying some very well-made signs there, and we were just curious.
We found these signs.
You found them.
But when we were walking here on the way, we were chanting this. Like someone
Yeah.
started the chant, and then we saw it, and we were like, "Oh my God, we were chanting that same thing." So I guess they were chanting someone's
Did you
sign.
start the chant?
I did not start the chant, but I kept it alive.
Participated,
Yeah.
So what brings you ladies out to the march today?
Just bringing awareness for a bunch of different groups, like obviously women, Black women, immigrants, like other topics like climate change. We just came here to support everyone.
The sisters,
Yeah.
Anything in particular, specific issues facing those communities maybe that you want to bring attention to?
Climate change for me.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
We only have 12 years left. What are well? We talk. That's actually a big concern for people here. We talked to a lot of people. Climate change is on the top of the list.
You know.
But what are we going to do in 12 years to fix it?
I
Right?
mean,
I mean, I
go
think it's about
vegan.
yeah,
Start eating
Go vegan?
plant-based. It's just not sustainable the way that we're living right now. The meat production, even dairy industry, both the meat and dairy industry are very unsustainable for long term. So
and like plastic waste too. Just being
Yeah.
aware of like the amount of like plastic bottles and like buying reusable bottles and straws.
You
but
know,
I mean, that's
I think
pretty
eating
cliche
a
at this point.
plant-based diet is like the least we can do because
Yeah.
there's so much more. But that would be a great start because it contributes so much to all the environmental harms that we face today. Is really just the meat and dairy industry, and because they have to mass produce things because like obviously
Yeah.
and there's just like deforestation, like
Yeah.
water pollution. Even like we feed all of the grain to the animals, we could solve world hunger if we could, with the amount of food in the world today. But we give so much of that food to feed the cattle, so then we can raise it and then
Give the food to our food.
yeah, exactly.
Right?
So
Isn't
why
that
not
weird?
just eat from the
That's
source
crazy.
itself? Instead of feeding it to the cattle, we can just eat from
Yeah.
the source itself.
And being aware of waste, and you don't always need a plastic bag. You can buy reusable bags when you go to the store.
Yeah,
And just
be more
small
aware,
things.
cautious.
It's not as hard as people think
know,
it is.
It's like there's like an ocean of plastic out in the island. Yeah, plastic. What are we gonna do with that? About that?
I don't know, and it's not
I
just
wish I could
plastic.
tell you,
There's
dude.
like,
Man.
I wish I
there's
could
like
tell
yeah,
you. But
it's just waste. Like we produce so much waste.
So we got to make more stuff out of like wood and paper and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So we're not.
compostable things.
reused plastic. We need to recycle it and make. Yes.
Yeah, even people
And
have recycling bins.
go
and they
vegan.
Don't even, like, recycle
Oh yeah, so
properly.
you did a whole.
She just had a whole
Yeah.
spiel.
She got that.
I
Yeah.
love it. Yes, just wanted to
It's our
add that if you
world,
don't-
yeah. We have to live this. For
Okay, all right. I'm gonna make you guys do some critical thinking. Okay, are you ready? So 12 years, right? That's all we got left. Go vegan, and stop using plastic. Is that really gonna be enough to make it in 12 years?
Well,
It's a
Definitely
start. I
make
don't
a
know if it's
huge
gonna be
difference,
enough.
especially being vegan. Yeah.
See,
and
if I-
everyone thinks that these small changes aren't gonna like do anything, but the thing is, if we all collectively do it together, that's gonna make such a big difference. Yeah.
So,
and what do I know what is enough or not? I am not a scientist.
yeah.
You're not?
No. But like she said, like it's very clear that like these are things that help, and so we can just hope. So.
All right. Cool. Anything else you ladies want to say?
I mean,
Open mic.
go vegan.
vegan,
Go
that's all I have to
women.
say.
And
We love
women's rights. Are
yeah,
human
women's rights.
there any good vegan restaurants around here I should hit up after?
Veg. We were just talking about it. Go to Veg. It's the cutest little vegan restaurant.
I can tell you were serious because you did the grids and everything on there, and then
That's right.
We're in alignment with.
Yeah. So what's your message? This guy's really anti-Mitch. So I'm just curious if you have a different message. Or...
Women. That's what
I gotcha.
we're all about. Women are the peacemakers, and women aren't. We're here to bring peace. We're here to save democracy.
Wow, that's a big job.
Yes.
How are you gonna do that?
We give life to the world. Therefore,
Have more babies is what you're saying.
we create life and voters,
That's true. It's very true.
and we can make more.
I think we should. The birth rates are really low right now.
Yes, they are.
You think that it's anything to do with the rise of abortion?
No, I think it has to do with the economy and people having to wait later to have their children. I was 39 when I had my first and only child.
That's it.
I think that that's the cause of that, but I also see that the male fertility has gone dramatically down. And
It has.
The environment,
Yeah, something weird in the water.
the water, everything that's flushed down the toilet. And
Exactly.
streams and into our water, so we have to protect our water. And
They say it's turned the frogs gay too.
what's that?
The water.
It's turning the frogs.
Yeah.
Well, they could have had a tendency.
A predisposition.
They were born female, and after they're partially way into their gestational period, they changed. Just like humans, they have a gestational change.
Awesome. Well, anything else you guys want to say? Appreciate your time. Thanks for coming out today, okay? Have a good one.
All right.
White women in isolation are not going to bring the change we want to see. The power in this space today, whether it's with indigenous women, Latinx women, black women, Asian women.
So you got women's rights or human rights. So you kind of got very colorful. I like that. We are strong alone and unstoppable together. All right. So a message of solidarity and equality, sounds like. We talked to a bunch of people here, and that is kind of a recurring theme. What kind of specific rights are you looking to have restored, or where do we need to make progress in areas of, civil rights, for example, with women, in your opinion?
You go ahead.
The women need to have rights to their own body. They should be able to get birth control or have abortions or whatever they want, but that's their body, and a man shouldn't be making the decisions for them. It should be a woman's and her doctor's decisions.
Is that kind of the main issue? I think that's mentioned a lot.
Yeah. And then we should have health care for all, not just for the rich or the very few. Health care should be a human right for all of our country.
So you guys
Well, pay.
Yeah.
equal pay?
Yes.
Oh, like the wage gap type stuff? That's an interesting one. So if you look at the numbers, it could be argued that there's no wage gap, for example, but there is an earnings gap. So for example, the jobs that women choose to take, and then between the time off and having children and things like that, it's not that they're getting paid less per hour, it's just they're not working as much or at the highest bit.
Get your information.
Probably the same place you got your information.
They're not making the amount that a man in that same position is making.
Well,
It's well known about this.
there's already a law against that, though.
Yeah, well, go figure.
What can we do?
I think we're all here because things aren't changing. They aren't doing better.
If it's already institutionalized equality as far as pay goes, what more can we do? Like, if it's in the law, are we just going to go to the business owners and tell them to pay them equally, or what do we do?
Well, just track it down. Find out who is and who isn't.
Do we know anyone who is right now who's doing that?
Don't.
Okay. Okay. So aside from the abortion and the equal pay, is there anything else on the docket that you guys want to raise interest about?
Got us off guard.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
Well, you're at the march.
fun, but I don't today.
I figured, if you're at the march, you're ready to go. You got all this stuff.
We have to unite. Uniting is the only way to change things. We're not going to do it one at a time. We have to all get together. Women have ruled this world for a long time in a very quiet way because we're the mothers. We're the ones who carry babies. And yet we're at the low end of everything. So that doesn't make sense.
Are you guys Trump supporters, Republicans? So that's an interesting thing because I went to a women's march last year. You know, everyone says equality, solidarity. There were two women who went they were just Trump supporters. They were here for the women's march. They just happened to be Trump supporters and they got kicked out. So it sounds, you know, like, oh, we're not, no, I'm not Republican. I'm just curious, you know, if there's solidarity, would you welcome a Trump supporting woman here, for example?
Oh, well, yeah, everybody has to be okay to think their own things.
I like that.
We can't just stop people from thinking. It's our right.
That's kind of my main message is that, you know, we got to...
The Republican junk that they're saying.
But, yeah.
Anything challenging is Republican junk.
Signs. You'll know.
Well, that's why I'm curious. Why is it all on one side?
You have to educate yourself.
Where can I start? What?
Try Google.
I'm gonna Google why are all women's march supporters leftists?
We need to keep breaking the barriers and bring people together for mutual support.
Talk Bernie to me, baby. We got a little subset over here of vaccine protesters.
So our group is called V is for Vaccine. Turn around. No.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, you're very modest about your advertising. It's like a giant sign and a tiny logo. You guys clearly have solidarity here with the messages and whatnot, but what exactly is your message?
Well, our message, we don't exactly fall in line with all of what's going on here, but the one common thing we do have with the Women's March is the idea of bodily autonomy. As far as abortion goes, women's rights as far as to their body and sovereignty over their body and choice over their body, same applies to any sort of medical procedure, which includes vaccines. So vaccine mandates violate bodily autonomy. When you're forced to take a medical procedure or coerced to take a medical procedure, it violates your choice. It violates your rights to your own body via coercion. So in that vein, we are aligned with the Women's March. So women's rights to their own body, also to choose what's right for their children. That goes with parental choice. I think that's pretty much the common ground here.
And is that why you really ultimately want that reduction in the regulation? Is because there is just some risk involved?
And there is acknowledged risk. Most of the people here and also most of the people that are in the quote-unquote anti-vax community have a family member, have a child who's been injured by vaccines. So we need to have that choice. When there is a medical procedure that carries risks, that there has been a definitive proof that people have been harmed by and even killed by, you have to have the choice to opt out.
So this is more of like a critical thinking, conspiracy type question, but why do you think vaccines are mandated?
Well, my personal.
This is the fun one. This is the fun one.
My personal opinion is I think it's a money issue. I know there is a consensus that they do, help with quote-unquote community immunity, but there is no proof that vaccines actually provide the quote-unquote community immunity. So when it boils down to it, the vaccine mandates, there is evidence that pharmaceutical companies are behind pushing these mandates through. So it's more of a money-making thing.
Big pharma?
Big pharma, rather than being about the health and well-being of the public at large.
So you don't think they're trying to sneak in some kind of weird chemicals into people to reduce testosterone in men or anything like that?
I don't know. I've heard all sorts of
some stuff floating around out there.
I mean, some of them you could, if you start going down the rabbit hole, you think, but I think all in all, and at the root of it, it seems to be more of a money issue. So I can't imagine that every single person who works for a pharmaceutical company or designs vaccine or whatever has a nefarious intent to stick us all with
some weird, turn us into robots or something like that.
Well, you never know. This is a crazy.
It's 2020. You never know. Yeah. So what would your recommendation be to new parents or, for example, regarding these?
I would recommend researching. You know, what the CDC recommends, what you hear on the news is not backed up by fact and by science.
I don't think anything on the news is.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. So I think diving into research, there are plenty of credible resources, peer-reviewed studies, even government sources that show that vaccines are not safe, that there is risk, and that there is even predispositions to injury. So people really need to look into that before they make the choice. When you go to the doctor, the information that they give you is not the full scope of risk that's involved in taking a vaccine. And even doctors don't know that. They don't look at the package insert, which lists the myriad of side effects that can happen. And doctors aren't even trained in the scope of injury that can occur as well. So
Well, you heard it. Do your research, okay?
this isn't about telling people to stop vaccinating. This isn't, we're the whole anti-vax. It's not about a bunch of people who decided not to vaccinate because of conspiracy. This is, again, mostly people who've had the experience of injury. They vaccinated their children or they vaccinated themselves.
Right.
And getting true informed consent, knowing all of the risks that could happen prior to, making that decision
Yeah.
for yourself or for your child.
I think you should make research for any big decision, you know what I mean? So why is this any different?
It's not.
No mistaking it now. Completely disarm anybody I talk to. Bam, buttons.
Yeah, I was out here earlier and I forgot my hat, and so I went home and came back, but there was so much traffic that I was here like an hour ago and it was like pretty packed.
Yeah.
And so I left to get my hat, came back, and now it's like a little empty, so I'm like,
Yeah.
And when I came out here earlier, I was the only conservative out here. I didn't see anybody else that was like, not protesting against it,
Yeah.
but kind of like,
Just checking it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like literally like, I feel like I was the only one that was out here,
Yeah.
And so the Women's March is interesting because I saw they talked about like love, peace, equality, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I saw signs of like F Donald Trump, F the patriarchy.
A lot of hate.
Exactly. So I don't see how they could talk about love and peace when all their signs nothing but hate.
Right.
I don't understand that. And it's like if you agree with them, then they are your friends. But
Yes.
if you have a head on like this, they disagree with you, or they get mad at you for supporting Trump. It's like, what does Trump have to do with the Women's March?
Right. Yeah. It's funny you say that. We were interviewing. We interviewed a lot of people, but one pair of ladies that we were interviewing, a little bit older. I simply asked the question: are you guys Trump supporters? It's a fairly innocuous question, and they immediately shut down and they said, oh, these are some right wing. This is like those right wing garbage on the internet and stuff like that.
And they always do that too. Every time that a person like myself or you guys come out here, they say it's right wing garbage, but then it's about equality for all. If you're about equality, everybody should have an equal right.
And diversity.
Exactly, and free speech. So free speech is getting tarnished by the left because, oh, you're against us. Because they feel a threat when it comes to hats like this.
Yeah.
It's not a threat because I want to know your opinion. I want to know why you feel what you feel. That's why I'm out here, to understand what you feel, so I can understand you better so we can have a conversation. I want to bridge the gap between division. You know what I mean?
Have you had any interesting conversations with people out here?
No.
I imagine with the hat, they probably don't want to talk to you.
Because when I came out here earlier, I didn't have my hat on. So
You had to make sure they know?
I forgot it, yeah. So if I was here earlier with my hat on, it would have been chaos. But there's like less people here, so I can't really walk around and find somebody to talk to, Yeah. But one thing I want to point out, they talk about racism, right? I don't think racism exists. I believe it doesn't exist at all. Because what's your race?
I'm like pure European.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but see, I wouldn't know that without asking you. You see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So you came up to me and you didn't discriminate because of the color of my skin. So why not lead by that example? You see what I mean?
Right.
What's your race? You're white too? Right.
He looks Mexican.
but you guys didn't discriminate because of my color. You didn't see me and walk right past. So if we led by that example, everybody can do the same thing. But it's because people like them tell these people that it's racism that they buy into this hatred. All racism is just a cover up for hate. That's all it is. So when you tell somebody it's racism, they hate everybody who they deem is racism, rather than just leading by example.
All right, now we're good. So what brings you out to the march today?
Well, my sign's about sexual harassment because I know like a couple females and that are like my friends and family that has been sexually harassed, and it really like affects them mentally and like physically, and it just makes them feel gross. And I just like think that shouldn't happen. Like that shouldn't happen to any woman. And then this one, she can explain it. It's hers, you know.
This one, grab my pussy, I dare you. That basically means, well, for me, that meant like, because you know how a lot of men, they think that since they're stronger than women, that they could just push us around, bully us, they can hit on us because they think they're stronger and all this stuff like that. And sometimes guys think that they could take advantage of women, and that's not okay. They need to know that. So I dare you.
All right.
There was a sign I saw earlier though, and it kind of offended me as like I'm Native American and I'm white, so her sign said you should put avocados on racism because it will get the white people's attention. And I was like, well, I mean, that's kind of a little salty to the white people, don't you think? You know, it's like if I were to do that and I switch like someone else's, like put a different race on it, I would get a lot of heat. But I guess a lot of people kind of just like block out like the white racism toward, you know, so.
That's interesting because I've noticed a lot of things that could be interpreted as anti-white racism here today as well.
It doesn't make sense. They're like, oh, we're fighting against racism, but then they hold up posters like semi, you know, racist towards white people.
Oh, I'm a white male, so everyone here hates me.
Oh, well.
Oh, I don't hate you.
All right, thank you. But why do you think that's okay? They can do that.
I don't think it's okay, and like honestly, like at school, it's been like a giant thing, like everywhere, like every single school I've been to, and I've been to like 5. So
In California?
Yeah, in California.
That's probably why.
Yeah, but it's just like they'll say like, oh, you're a cracker, or they'll say something racist towards like a white person, but it's okay because, you know, like you're white and they're not, and you can't say anything back otherwise.
I think it's even worse when they kind of assume that just because you're white, you are racist. You know what I mean?
Well, there was one time that this transgender girl I was friends with, she said, you little white girl, you get daddy's money, and I actually live with my mom, and she's broke, and she's filing for bankruptcy, so I just like get stereotyped just because of my skin color, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why black people get stereotypes and like Asians get stereotyped. Like, it just flies right over my head. So,
Yeah.
You know.
That is interesting. It seems like with your opinion, you don't really fit in here.
No, I don't.
Nobody else thinks that way.
Well, yeah, not really, but I like the women empowerment. You know, like women need to like be stronger, and they need to like.
What can women do to become?
Stand up for themselves more, because I even watched my sister not stand up to her, like for herself. Like I was like, what are you doing? Stand up for yourself. Like they just shut down because girls are so emotionally attached with their feelings. So it's just like, you know, they don't, I don't know.
They're not. What do you think that stems from? Is it a personality thing or like a parenting thing? Or?
It might be a parenting thing. It might be the way you're raised, and it also might be your cultural background, like meaning like your religion, you know. So.
Okay. Yeah. Any ideas on how we can fix that?
The legacy of woman is now ours.
You can't fix people. You can try.
I agree with that.
You can try. You can try really hard, but you can't fix people. And I learned that the hard way too. You know. So.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, kind of a little bit. But.
All right. So kind of a dystopian message here from you. Anything else you want to say?
That I really love my dog.
Yeah, it's pretty. Message is pretty clear there.
Yep.
So. What brings you out specifically to the march? Is it a kind of a political message of anti-Trump, or?
I am here to represent my gender and be supportive. And
what gender?
I identify as female, born
okay.
female. And my colors are representative of my identification, which is pansexual.
It's very bright.
So is my cane.
So you're a pansexual female.
Yep.
Okay, so it's got a lot of new genders and sexualities coming out. You know, it's kind of hard to keep track. What does that mean exactly?
It means I was born female and I identify as female, and pansexual means that I can find love within anyone. man, woman, transgender, doesn't matter to me. Love is love.
Interesting. So, how many? We've asked a couple people, and we got different answers every time. But as of where we are right now, to the best of our knowledge, how many different genders are there right now?
Gosh, I wouldn't have that answer. I'm sorry.
It's a lot, though, right?
No, I would imagine I would just go by what I know, which is female, male, transgender male, transgender female. It just depends on the person and how they feel inside.
It's more of like the sexuality aspect of it, where there's a lot of different variations, right?
Exactly.
Okay, that's interesting. So Women Unite, My Body, My Rules. Is it kind of like an abortion thing, or what specifically are we talking about there?
Anytime anyone tries to create a law that prohibits me from making my own decisions about my own body, then that's what I'm fighting against.
I like that.
Abortion. I don't even like seatbelt rules. I mean, I put the seatbelt on to.
You're libertarian.
I am kinda, I guess.
Nice.
Democrat, blue no matter who this year. Let's get.
Oh, you're doing that, yeah.
Here, so.
Do you think that they have what it takes to actually get that done? I mean, if you look at the lineup of candidates, it's kind of it's a little rough.
That the Senate will have a change of heart and just really look at the facts and just go ahead and finish.
So you're banking on impeachment?
I want it. I want him to be removed, but if he doesn't, we got to vote him out. We got to get rid of him.
So who's your front runner to beat him?
Honestly, if I was to choose, I kind of liked Cory Booker because I'm vegan and he's vegan. It's kind of cool.
That's important.
But of those who have numbers, I would probably slide towards Warren or Bernie. But honestly, I'll vote for Biden too. I mean, I'll vote for whoever will take down Trump.
Blue no matter who, but yeah, you don't have any personal preference towards any of them, aside from Booker?
I guess I like Warren and Bernie.
What do you think?
A little bit more because of his stand on medical issues, but yeah. But I'll vote for Warren too. It's nice. It would be nice to have a female president.
What do you think about the kind of debacle between? Watch out behind you there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's move out of the sidewalk. What do you think about the recent debacle between Warren and Sanders? Are you aware of what happened?
No, you know how things get blown up. It was probably just a misunderstanding.
Do you think it was like a media stunt?
Who knows?
'Cause I'll be honest, I'm a registered Democrat, but I don't watch those debates. They're super boring.
It's the recaps on YouTube.
That's real. Yeah, exactly. Because I think they kind of threw it in there to spice it up a little bit. Give a reason to make some news and get some attention.
It's possible.
So you don't think that Bernie, if he said it, you don't think that it's true that a woman can't be president?
No, I don't think he cares about that. I don't think he's an awful dude. I mean, I think he's all right. I mean, he's
kind of a nice old man.
He's stood up for women's rights, so his past record kind of shows who he is. So.
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything else you want to say? Open mic.
If your feminism isn't intersectional, then it's not true feminism. And fuck patriarchy.
Could I ask one clarifying question on your first statement? What does that mean exactly? If your feminism isn't intersectional,
we need to include women of color.
Were we excluding them?
At a certain point in time, we were. Women's rights and women's right to vote came first for the white woman, not the black woman. I mean, they haven't always been included, and it's time to end that. And it's.
Are they being
much that way now? But there's.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there any modern, current ways where they're being excluded? Do you think? It seems like, you look at a rally like this. It seems like it's pretty inclusive.
I don't want to go into that right now because I can't think of facts right off the top of my head, and I don't want to just be spewing stupidity.
Yeah, that's tough.
So, but it is a real thing, and you should look it up. It really is.
Awesome. We will do that. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Have fun today. Thanks. Here's my theory. I think black people actually are removing the power from themselves by telling themselves repeatedly that racism exists and that they are oppressed by the system, right? They want to take the power away from themselves so that they can claim that victimhood.
Yeah, it's the same thing with women. I noticed too that women and like homosexuals and trans, they use black people's oppression to their oppression, as if what they're doing is the same thing. Oh, they're oppressed just like black people. I think that is to me a form of racism. Because you're basically saying that blacks can't do for themselves because they're oppressed. So it gives you an excuse to be oppressed as well.
So what I hear a lot when I ask people, can you give me some examples of institutional racism, for example? There's really not a lot of good answers, but a lot of times what I hear is, well, we just had slavery, or we just had Jim Crow, right? Do you think that's actually affecting? Does that affect your life on a day-to-day basis at all? Has that affected your ability to succeed in America?
No. When I was actually younger, I went to an all-white school. Not a single white person discriminated against me because of the color of my skin. I actually had the best of friends at an all-white school. When I went to an all-black school in high school, most blacks discriminated against me because I wasn't black enough.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're black and you try to succeed and you try to not listen to rap and be an independent thinker,
proper, then they deem me to be white. But see, they equate that to white people because they say, oh, you talk proper, you must be white. Because I talk proper, so I'm supposed to talk this way.
Right. That sounds kind of racist.
You see that?
This lady just walked behind you and said, why are you talking to this guy? And she pointed at you. So
She said, why are you talking to me?
Yeah, she said, why am I talking to this guy? Because she saw the MAGA hat, you know what I mean? So like, right in front of her children, yeah. So that's what
tolerance, right?
That's the tolerant that we're working with, yeah. It's mind blowing.
The thing about it is, okay, the way I see it, if that woman, for example, right? She said, why are you talking to him? Let's say you believed her and then you just walk right past me. You're letting somebody else think for you.
Yeah.
We gotta start thinking for ourselves. That's why I wear this hat, because I support the president, not because it's cool to be MAGA, because I know what he stands for. His values are my values, and vice versa.
So yeah, I agree. What would you say to the women out here that say like Trump is a misogynist? He hates women. He has all these accusations of sexual assault and harassment against him. What would you say to that kind of stuff?
I would say that women need to do their research, because Trump actually appointed more women in his administration than any other president has. That's a fact.
His campaign manager was a woman.
Exactly. And he had black women in his campaign working with him. He had Ben Carson working with him. I don't see how the man is racist or misogynistic. The only reason why they say misogynistic is because they use that grab him by the private part thing. You see what I mean?
Right.
If you look at that was before he was president. As a matter of fact, I got a good analogy because of that. So check this out. Trump said on a bus, private conversation that somebody recorded publicly and put it on the media, right? He said, when you're a celebrity, they let you do what you want, grab them by the private parts, right? He said that there's consent because you're a celebrity. But somebody like Nicki Minaj, okay? Nicki Minaj talks about giving oral to a man through his shorts. She's a celebrity, and men let her do what she wants, grab him by the balls. Should we condemn her for speaking publicly, or do we condemn Trump for having the private conversation?
Didn't she like drug men or something like that, or admit to drugging guys or something like that? Oh, okay, yeah.
But
did she even get any heat for that?
No. As a matter of fact, check this out. When it comes to male and female, this whole patriarchy thing, Rick Ross talked about putting something in the girl's drink, and then Reebok disowned him basically. They said, I'm not working with you no more. Cardi B talks about robbing and drugging men, but yet Pepsi sponsors her.
Interesting kind of dichotomy there.
You see what I mean? And these are the things people don't think about because they're so wrapped in their own world. Right on, man. 4 more years. That's what I'm talking about, man. I'm telling you, there's more of them out here.
You got an impeached Trump hat on. I don't understand. Maybe he's just making money.
I know.
You can make a lot of money.
The thing about it is, some people are afraid to actually... When was it great? It's always been great. It's always been great. America has always been great. I am blessed to be an American. Are you blessed to be an American?
What?
Are you blessed to be an American? Are you blessed to be
I
an American?
was until Trump was elected, and then I...
So you was until Trump was elected. So now you're not blessed to be an American?
Why
not go live somewhere else then?
No one else will take me.
How about Venezuela?
They won't. I'm disabled, and I'm not working, and I don't have enough money. I can't immigrate. I tried. Canada won't take me either.
You want government assistance?
I want to be blessed to be an American again. Am I on TV?
Yeah, it's live. 2 million viewers. No.
We need to make Americans great again. Not America, Americans. We need to invest in our people.
That's what Trump is doing.
Not by attacking Iran.
Black unemployment, Asian unemployment, women unemployment. As a matter of fact, let me tell you something. When Obama got elected in 2008, when George Bush left, black unemployment was at 11.5%. By his third year, it increased to 16.2%, which means no, it's actually Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But in third year, it increased for black Americans. A lot of black Americans were not working, right? When Trump got in, when Obama left, black unemployment was at 8%. So by his third year, it's at 3.5%.
Do you
It's the Bureau
see any economics whatsoever?
Statistics.
Ever studied economics?
He made the country worse. I can give you a good example.
Man.
Some facts. I'm gonna tell you
in this country. A lot of race.
two key differences, my man. Can I tell you two key
black too, you know, but
here's the difference, okay? When Trump was in office, when the Charlottesville happened, are you guys listening? See?
They don't appear to care about what you have to say.
They really don't. I'm trying to tell them the facts. What Trump has done. So I guess I'm not gonna have the conversation.
She says you're infected by a virus.
I'm affected by a virus?
They believe everything they
Donald
read.
Trump ran on my ideas.
Very interesting. That was very fascinating.
So we were having a conversation, and then she just kind of yelled as we were talking, and because she saw the hat, I guess, right? Does that happen a lot?
Honestly, this is the first time this ever happened. Like, ever. I've had conversations with people, but not like this. This is insane.
You run around and you yell diversity, you yell, inclusion, but then you kick people out with MAGA hats. You tell them don't talk to the guys with MAGA hats, and you're not really practicing what you preach. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's what she did. She walked past. Was it her who walked past?
No, it was a different lady that walked past and said, "Why are you talking to him?" But then she yelled at you because you had the hat, obviously. So.